Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena, the final match of Week 1, Season 40. And this week is going as anticipated. I said at the top of this I'd be lucky to go 1-2, and I will need that win in order to make that happen. This is a really tough bracket, and I may have flown as high as my roster can currently take me, which is like the lower middle of Kyber 2. So doing pretty well, but this bracket is beyond what we're going to be able to handle. This round, though, my defense did get a couple holds. Zori picking up one, and then Mon Mothma getting a surprise 3 holds. Now on the back wall, we did get one more hold from my fleet, where the Executor picks up a hold there. The rest of the defense gets one shot, but that's expected. This is a fairly soft defense, just by the nature of my roster in 5v5. With the bracket, my opponent is Woozy Roo, just shy 10.5 million GP. He's got 254 Zetas, so a 30 Zeta cushion. He's got 18 Amis, so an advantage there, and the there's one person with more Amis than him. He's a 7 GL player. He's got 198 relics though, and considering there's only about 250 characters in game, that's a huge amount of relics. That's a problem. And the relic distribution is not favorable. A lot of tier 7, a lot of tier 5, a ton of tier 8s. This is the type of roster that would crush me. He's probably being inactive though, based on looking at like the nature of this bracket, the opponents who were able to climb up, or who got 2 wins. Looking at the mod quality, I do have an advantage with mods, both in counts and overall quality. And then the Datacrons, he's got pretty great Datacrons if he's active. And then with the Omicron portion, he's got a Relic 9 Malgus, 2 Amis. He's got a Relic 5 Iden, 2 on Starkiller, none on Dash. He does not have the Ami on Salvage. Traya has Ami, 3 on Aphra, 3 on Swolo, and none on Zori. And when we look at the hotbot information, this is where we get another data point where I think he may be inactive. When we look at these undersizes and clears, those are some pretty low numbers. It is a holiday weekend. He may be busy, or that might mean he has extra time in order to participate. We'll only see tomorrow. And just quickly scrolling through this so you can see how the numbers compare. You can see my Gear 12 number getting bigger as the raid allows us to shift a lot of our roster from Gear 11 to Gear 12 and then onto relics. And then we've got a number of speed advantages on a number of these characters. Looking at the quality of his gear or his mods in detail, this here, he's got about 23 characters at 300 speed or higher. The Admiral Raddus is the final character above 300 speed. Karga's at 298, so you can see a few of the characters falling below that threshold, like his Maul, his CLS, number of characters who would be better a little faster, but he's got a lot of the key characters at above 300 speed. Now his defense here, we did prepare for this on Twitch the other day on the Saturday stream. Now with my defense, I believe this is unchanged from last round. We got my Finn, my Junk Sana squad, my Mon Mothma squad, and my Junk First Order. Would love to swap out a couple of those. And we've got Qui-Gon, Malgus, Jabba, and Maul. Maybe as soon as next week, Trench will be moving probably to this back wall here. We've got Raddus, Dash, and Iden. This Dash squad does nothing for me. And we did set down a strong fleet, which makes clearing fleet pretty difficult for me, but hopefully difficult for them too. His defense, we are looking at Malgus, Lord Vader, Qui-Gon, Dash. So far that's as expected. And then on the bottom, Jabba, Raddus, Rey, and Starkiller. There's only one Datacron here. He has not reapplied Datacrons. It's going to make that Lord Vader much more manageable. And I think the way that we're going to play it is deal with the GLs first, then move to the back territory. On the back wall, I'm expecting Phasma, Beskar Mando, maybe Grand Inquisitor. That's what I had on my list, my preparation. And we'll take a brief look at that preparation here. This is how I'm planning it out. Lord Vader, Fennec with JMK in reserve, Starkiller up against Rey Swolo, Jabba using CLS Chewpio. JMK can hopefully clean up one of those if they go wrong. Starkiller will do General Grievous, and gas Malgus. We're probably going to Aphra the Raddus because I'm expecting Traya or Grand Inquisitor on the back wall, so that's where I'm going to want to use my Traya. Night Sisters up against Qui-Gon. That may change just because I'm probably not going to use my Ventress there. But that's how we're planning on handling it. So let's start with Jabba. But this is a nearly full Relic 8 Jabba squad. So this may not go the way that I want, and I think we may have to clean it up, which may... It could alter a number of things. Like maybe we'll use my Aphra elsewhere because this may not work. Just because this... The Rancor is probably going to get out and do some damage with those Relicates just buying him enough time. And we interrupt this video to welcome you to the latest episode of Still Plays messed up the original audio, so we need to record new narration over the footage, and that's why we're a little late putting this one out. We begin with the Chewpio Jabba match. This was a match I was a little worried about because of the high relics on the Jabba. I thought it might give them more of an opportunity for Jabba to get the Rancor ultimate out. We start with the basic on the Bosch. And I apologize for being late on getting this one out. It's been a busy week and did not anticipate needing to do this and fit it into my other deadlines. But until we can get more assists from Chewpio, we need to play it a little slow, clear some buffs. We get our free turn. Almost done with Bosch. And at least this video will be a little shorter because we are playing this at accelerated speed. You can see it's taking us a little longer to get through Bosch, but the counters finish her off. At this point though, now we start getting the assist from Chewpio, and we can focus down on Embo very quickly. Take out Skiff Lando. And from here, it's pretty easy. Although we still need to be a little concerned about the Rancor coming out. But we're getting through Chrysanthemum pretty quick. That might be because he doesn't have the Omicron on him. I'd have to remind myself what the Om even does. I've got it, but for whatever reason, that's an Omicron I just don't remember. It was definitely an Omicron that if you don't have Jabba, you shouldn't put it on. It just does not do enough. But with Jabba, it's going to improve things, but until I reread it, I'm not going to remember how. But with Chrysanthemum out, from here it's easy and fast. Rancor still has a shot. Now, unfortunately, when we record the audio, I know how the match went, so I'm not going to react to things in the same fashion. We've got this Rey Swolo squad. We're going to play the standard stuff. Just double checking what resistance Cron is on here, if it's going to change the nature of the match. I don't really remember the specifics of this match, though. I'm starting to feel like maybe it did make a change, or maybe that was the more recent match I did. I think that's the more recent match I did. But we've got full relics on the squad now, so this is... It was already a pretty solid counter without full relics, without the Cron. With the Cron, we're in a much better position. We want to get Rey through the protection up as quickly as possible so we can get her into the yellow. But whenever it's Mace's turn, we'll target whoever has Shatter Point to get the assist from Starkiller to get his stacks towards Unleash a little faster, throw up defense penetration up on everyone. Now Rey's got damage immunity. Everyone's under stun, and with Foresight on JTR, we just decide to work around her. Throw some debuffs for the turn meter, and then we're just calling assists. Hitting some staggers, but Rey goes down into her stance. So other than just getting some buffs, throwing down some debuffs, trying to land some shock, there's not much we can do other than work towards Unleashed. That was a mistake. I should have just used a basic, because that just didn't do anything. Because I don't have the Omicron on it either. Now she's still in her stance, so we're not going to go towards Unleashed. I also don't think we got enough characters into the yellow. But I'm also just wasting time. I should just try. I'm playing it too much, and I should just be doing basics and letting it Rey get her turn meter so the ability she can get the whirlwind off. But I'm trying to just land some stuns on people, so when I can start damaging them again, they are at least under some control status. She lands the ability, doesn't do much. We need to get rid, and Swolo goes down. I think I was just trying to get him into the yellow. Down goes Rey. And now we gotta wait for the damage immunity to come off. And we got 45 seconds left, and we still haven't used the Unleashed. But we need to be careful with the staggers. This is just because the way I was playing it earlier on, we wasted a lot of clock. And there we go. Now with this next matchup, we still got Starkiller and Raddus to deal with. Now moving on to Lord Vader. We're just going through the GLs so that I can understand the nature of the match. Because we're going to approach the GLs the same regardless. So clearing the bottom territory or clearing any of the territories doesn't really matter. Bringing in Fennec. I just feel like Fennec even if you have alternatives, like we still have JMK, we have teams that we can use, but I always think it's just worth giving Fennec a shot. And I forget if there's no Datacron on this match, so we have less to be concerned about. We taunt. I think I should have thrown the thermals, but whatever. We basicked because everyone had days. We'll call the assists. And now we can take someone out, but Maul's still under stealth. And I think I'm going to take out Thrawn and not have to worry about fracture. But I'm deliberating, that's why we're taking a little longer. Take out Thrawn. Because it's something where maybe if I had relics on everyone, we'd play it differently, but since these characters are Gear 12 and Maul had 5 stacks of Anguish, we just don't know what's going to happen. And if I had waited to use the Disintegrate, we just might not even get it off, like you see right there. Had we waited, we wouldn't have used the ability. And I think it's what you're supposed to do anyway. And Fennec goes down, but we made a little progress. But that's the risks of having a weaker counter, and it's why that's the current project, is to make sure that all of my teams are stronger. Now we're building out our JMK. We're going to grab that Tenacity Up data crown that I like to have on JMK, because it gives a bunch of stacking protection up. And from here, we'll have a much easier time. I'm going to throw the damage immunity over on Kenobi so we don't lose him too early. And with Maul not under stealth, he's fairly easy to take out from this point. Shore's the next one I care about because of the healing. But we'll call everyone for the assists. Use the ultimate. Now we can go after Shore Trooper. Still got plenty of time. And this is why it's just so important to have data crowns. Like, if he had a data crown on his Lord Vader, we'd be having a much more difficult time. Especially if you have a character like Lord Vader. It's just like, for a level 3 ability, it's so little work to do to give yourself a massive advantage. I'm just kind of surprised how often that people who could be placing that datacron just don't. And I think part of that's just presets. Players get complacent and just don't go back in to double check things. But it does make things easier. I've got 2 minutes working through this. Lord Vader's still tough, and it is Relic 9. This guy did have good high relics. Three stacks of armor shred. Land that damage. No, we don't get the damage. Or not the damage immunity, the healing immunity. Still taking a long time to get through them. This is also because I've got my relics are wholly insufficient on this squad. We got a relic 6 JMK, a relic, I think still a relic 5 cat. I need, all these characters need to go higher. Again, that's the current project. Strengthening the weaknesses, of which my roster has a number. Now, we've got Malgus here, which also has a standard counter, so this is what I'm going to go with next. Now, this is a low banner counter. It would be ideal if I didn't have to use it, but I don't have a lot of alternatives. Like, if I had C, if I had more GLs in general, it would allow me to play my offensive strategy a little bit differently, but for my roster, this is a mandatory counter. I forget this opponent's mods. But we went down quickly, and this is a bad start. Definitely not how you want things to go. We'll dispel. And I really need to stand up. Okay. going for Fallen. Take her out. Now this is much better, because getting rid of Fallen as quickly as we did makes things a whole lot easier. Yeah, now we'll eliminate Revan and finish off Malgus. Great. Now Qui-Gon Dash left there. We'll move down to the lower territory, because at this point there's plenty of other counters we can bring to those teams. Starkiller is the next tough squad. And how did I play it this time? Okay, we're going to play it with Grievous. Okay, I kind of remember how this went. Yeah, I remember how this went. Notice the Gear 11 Separatist droids that we have. Land a bunch of buff immunities. So far things are going fine. But now we've lost IG 100, which is unfortunate. Trying to take out Palp quick, but now we have lost Droideka. We really haven't made enough progress, and Visas is a threat to bring Palpatine back. We used that ability trying to get a stun, but we can't get a stun with Starkiller present. And we lose Grievous, and that is largely because way too many low gear characters on that squad, and something I have rectified after this match. I haven't brought them out of relics, but I have brought them at least to gear 12. Which was something I held off on because of stun guns, because of the golden eyeballs, but now that stuff's not expensive anymore. So I put them on. Now we could do Traya up against Raddus, but I believe I don't, because I'm fairly confident there's a Grand Inquisitor team on the back wall. So I want to save Traya for that matchup, and Aphra is a strong counter to Raddus, who can be a tricky team if you don't bring the right counters. And there we go, we practically do that with just Vader. Now we got to figure out the Starkiller cleanup. And from here, what do I do? Oh, trench. Yeah, that works. This is the last match where you're going to see trench on offense. Although, I think I could have... I wonder if I could have... I think I could have used trench to start this match. Maybe not. But there's no leadership here. The full effects of Starkiller's unique aren't in this battle. There's a lot that's different. And there we go. Easy cleanup. Shifting to the back wall, yeah, there's that Grand Inquisitor I was anticipating. And this is why I scout my opponents. Because had I not done that scouting, I would have used Traya up front, and we would have not as we would have less than ideal counters to take on this Grand Inquisitor. I should update this and throw in Sith Empire Trooper. Or is he on defense? No, he must be on defense because Malgus. He's probably. Is he with Malgus? I should investigate that. But this is a strong counter. You don't even need the Yami for this. You don't need relics for this. Like Gear 12 Traya does this. I think, well, it definitely up against Raddus. Did I even? No, I think by the time Grand Inq, no, I think I think if I remember right, I countered this before the Omicron was introduced. I'd have to go back into the archives. Yeah, this is just a strong, nice counter. Once you have Reva, once you have Third Sister, this still works as a counter. You're going to want Savage in it, but the one major caveat is it looks like it's high relics only. And everyone should be preparing for that. Now we got a BAM squad and a Phasma squad. Did I do something fun here? Maybe we had some fun. I did not do much testing in this round because I knew I could win this, but it was going to be close on banners, so I didn't want to risk too much. Now, Tuskens, technically this is a little bit of testing, but this I know works from Territory Wars. And even though the Omicron is different, I still felt like it was a worthy gamble to see that it works both in Territory Wars and in Grand Arena. And even though we lose Shaman up front, who is the weak link, it works great. And a number of these characters are going to become even better over the coming weeks and months. I don't know if or when I'm going to relic all of this squad. I might relic pieces. Like Raider's going to get relic for Lord Vader. I'll probably add a relic on Warrior. Chieftain, I don't know. Maybe. Shaman's probably not, though. Just because I wonder if there'll be some sort of change to this squad long term. Like, I still think there's room for Tusken Boba to be added to the game, even though Sign of Django has that Chieftain synergy. That Chieftain Ami, I do think, reduces the chances that we get Tusken Boba, but I still think he's a character worth adding to the game. Because Sign of Django has just completely different abilities and kits. Like, you'd just have like Gaffy Stick or Tusken Boba going on. It'd be great. And it would be a good way to like level up the old Tusken Raider army by adding a different character. Now, this is probably Grand Inquisitor. Just such a pretty safe, strong counter. Although watch 40.2.1 when I upload that, probably tomorrow. And watch what happens when I go up against a gas squad with an unexpected Datacron. This is just so strong that it doesn't matter. Really what was disappointing to me was Fifth Brother didn't really work as a counter to Qui-Gon. Fifth Brother does in 3v3, I should say, because that is something I use all the time. But in 5v5, you'd think for the investment it takes to get Fifth Brother, or to get the Inquisitors up and running, that they'd at least be a Qui-Gon counter before Grand Inquisitor. And technically they kind of are, but the odds are inconsistent. Now what am I doing now? Okay, we're doing a little bit of testing. We're bringing in the Wookiees, and we're going up against Dash. Which is risky, because Dash has a big AoE ability, and what I'm hoping for is the extra stats are going to help out. And they don't really. Like, losing mission that quickly is disappointing. And we almost forfeit, but I decided to play it out a little bit just to kind of see what happens. Obviously, it's not winnable anymore. But you start seeing the promise of this squad, and it's something that, I mean, they'll win up against the right things if you bring them up against something soft enough. This was obviously way above what they could handle, but I mean, this would have been fine except for Dash. Just because Dash offensively is just a beast. But without the full squad, there's no chance at winning. I'm more looking at, okay, as these stats start stacking, how does this match start looking? You can see we almost lose Tarfful. But it's not what's nice is that 3-star Tarfful's not really the problem. It's the other characters are not getting enough of a stat boost from Tarfful to create that low gear viability that I look for. Whereas we might bring in Cere right now, do we? Because Cere works in the other fashion where she does bring in that viability. What am I looking for? I do not remember what I'm looking for. Oh, we're gonna do Saw Gerrera testing. Okay. This is obviously not going to work. Because if Tarfful doesn't work, why would this? But I wanted to get some testing done with Saw and see what it looks like, and that's what it looks like. It's unfortunate with these other matches, there were not ideal squads to look at. Yeah, not promising. I think now I might do Cere or Night Sisters. I think we just might go through all the Marquee characters, or maybe not all, but a lot of them. Yeah. Now, Cere is a character I love. one of the best additions to the game. Like, look at the squad take that hit. Because she gives just so many defensive stats. Just great. And this is not even an ideally modded squad. Because really, I need to take the speed mods off of Ray and Fulcrum. They're not exactly fast right now. They don't have excellent mods or anything. But they had decent mods. Like, I've got pretty good mods overall, so everybody's kind of modded decently. But they should be modded slow because of Cere Junda's lead. Now that's unusual. Losing Cere Junda that early in a match. Usually she's not the first to go down. She was at 3 stars in this battle. I do have her at 4 stars now, and by the start of week 3, she should probably be 5 stars. I farm very aggressively for free-to-play. Like, I don't delay on anybody, but definitely Cere Junda would not be a character I would delay on at all. But without Cere, this is not going to be a match we can win. Because Cere's got the one-hit ability. At some point I'll probably quit this. We're doing this late night, because that's the only time I can do this stuff. So I'm a little tired. We do have a Reva sighting coming up, just to tease things a little bit for match 40.2.2. 40.2.2 Reva potential if my opponent placed him on placed her on defense. Now we leave. We still have obviously plenty of weapons, like we still have a JML. But I want to do some fun things. Now we're gonna JTR Swolo. This is gonna just crush. Like, this can beat Maul squads. It should be able to beat this. We're gonna undersize it. Going after Bam, and we blow him up. Love Swolo. Now we threw healing immunity onto Bo because that's who I want to take out next. Because that'll then eliminate the recovery for the rest of the faction, for the squad. Eliminate Canderous. Excuse me a moment. Sneezing and stuff. And there we go. And we might get bored. No, we're going to finish off the Marquee testing. Why not use them all at this point? I wish I would have done it all in sequence and not interrupted it. Now, obviously without Ventress, this is not the same squad. And there it is. It's over. Going after Daka that early was unfortunate. Ventress would not have changed that. I think we might just get boring and JML it now. Just be done with it and move on to fleet. Yeah. There's nothing even to say about this. This is going to work. We just go after Vandor first. Obviously, because he's the revive. But everyone's under stun. Once Vandor's gone, Dash is the only other threat. The other characters are just annoying. But when you can ignore taunts, then they don't matter. This is why, like, a character like Dash, I have not placed the Omicron on. It's debatable if you want to do the Ami for the ship, for fleets. I don't really think it's worth it. Doesn't make that much of a difference. But this squad is only a problem if you don't bring the right teams up against it. You bring a strong counter. Like, I could have just brought in Jedi Knight Revan and taken it out. And in those scenarios, like, it's an easy team to deal with. Now we head to fleet. And I forget what he set down. Okay, soft negotiator, Raddus, Chimera. And obviously my profundity and Executor are on defense. We malevolence the Chimera these days because well, I don't have a lot of options right now. Like Scythe and Negotiator are the next two best fleets that I have on offense. And neither of those are going to work here. It's the type of thing where if he had Profundity or Executor, though, definitely Executor. If he had like Executor and Chimera, I don't really think I have the fleets left on offense to counter that. Like you've seen like several recent videos lately where I've failed to clear fleets because of that. Because the Malevolence is just such an important counter to so many fleets. And the Negotiator is not what it used to be. That if I can't rely on the Negotiator being a counter, then it makes it pretty difficult for me to deal with certain kind of defensive lineups. Which is why right now one of the current projects is increasing all of the gear on certain pilots. Not even gear, really bring them to relics, because they're already at. Everyone is at gear 11. We're taking them up to gear 12 and then adding those cheap gear 12 plus pieces. Then we'll make some choices about who deserves the relics. But with Leviathan on the horizon, things will look different very soon. So I don't want to overinvest in these areas because the strategy is going to change up a lot once a Leviathan is in game. Now, Negotiator, this is one of those things where this counter is not what it used to be. But I think it's partly because I need to up the relic levels on, like, Anakin in particular. So we go for Ahsoka first, which isn't how I used to play it, but because I've been losing my Anakin a lot lately, I decide at least let's get rid of that ship. And there comes out Sergeant, which is definitely still not the way that I think it should be played. And plus, I think Sergeant's just better with Holo. I think Holdo benefits from having a backup tank, whereas I don't think this fleet needs it. Like if Plo Koon had come out, he'd be in a better position. That's why I never place Sergeant in reinforcements. Dispel, attack Sarge. Now, that was a misplay. I didn't notice the days on everybody. I should have just used the bombs. Now, this should not be on defense. And I've been talking a lot about it lately. I'm pretty convinced that Holdo is going to be the Leviathan soft counter, at least for the near term. Long term, we'll have other things. Okay. And TIE Bomber is just going to be a strong counter to a fleet like this, because it dispels, and without Deflector Shield, they can't make progress towards the ultimate. And you see how quickly the MG-100 went down? Like, that's why I think this fleet benefits from Sergeant, because they really need another tank. Also, Poe should not be on the front lines. Poe has a pretty decent reinforcement ability, whereas Pilot does not. I should have healed up the shuttle. Not that it matters, but it's what I should have done. Now they can't possibly win, even though not that it was in question, but okay, and there we go. We will add on the results that I originally recorded. We salvaged the first week of Season 40 with a win, going 1-2, which is what I was hoping for based on how difficult this bracket was. So we get to keep a decent buffer in Kyber 2 going into next week. My fleet defense held 4 attacks onto the Profundity, and that's why we've made that gamble where I'm going to challenge my opponents to clear me, even though it makes my fleet attacks far more difficult. He didn't really have any issues with the rest of the defense. We'll take a look at the history in detail at this point, now that that information is out. And this will let us get started next week's videos a little bit faster. Sometimes there's a longer preamble to the first match of the week. Now that's the final, in round 1 here, he uses a GL up against my Maul, so we still have no idea if that Datacron does anything. This goes smooth for the most part for this opponent. He was going to crush me regardless. He used a Nihilist lead up against the Finn team. In round 2, this opponent had a little bit more trouble. This is weird. Traya losing to the Mon Mothma squad. I don't even know how that happened, because that's a counter. But we had maybe a little bit of turn meter issues, maybe some modding issues, something came into play there, but I do think he had the no, he did have the Omicron. I do think he had the Omicron. So this is an interesting result. Preloaded the Mon Mothma squad, which is going to come up a little bit later. He gassed the Maul squad. He attempted to JML Mon Mothma. You can't do this. Even if there was no preloaded turn meter, JML cannot solo Mon Mothma squads. They actually do beat them. That's something I found out the hard way. Then he ended up taking them out with CLS. This is also interesting. Finn Zori standing up to Raddus. That's a great result. But with this match, we couldn't clear my opponent's fleet, so we ended up losing. And I think he did get the full clear. Now in the final round, this is this match here with Woozy-Roo. You can see he had a very strong attack up against my defense, but he had a very soft GL offense, I think, which allowed him to have a lot more of his GLs for offense. So like taking out Maul here with SLKR, having his Chewpio take out my Raddus. He used Mando lead to take out my Finn Zori. That's interesting to me. And the rest of this is fairly soft, and then he gets stuck on the Profundity. But we'll wrap it up there. And now that I'm done with the week, I'm going to knock out several of these videos one after another and get on to some other topics. But thank you for sticking in there, and be safe out there, everyone. Be excellent to each other, and this is still plays Galaxy of Heroes.